November 17th, 1558. Elizabeth I has been coronated as queen, but that's not where the story starts.
After the previous 50 years of instability under Bloody Mary and the equally murderous King Henry VIII, which brought England into a messy divorce with its Catholic Church, England and Elizabeth had a choice to make: either succumb to the growing might of Spain and the internal religious divides, or prosper into a golden age of art and might. England chose to prosper.
One of the most famous criticisms of Elizabeth's rule was the first blast of the trumpet against the terrible regime of women by the Scottish minister John Knox. The book was published months before Elizabeth was crowned Queen of England and criticized the ideas of a woman ruling over men. Elizabeth did not punish Knox because she knew that he would help convert Scotland into Protestantism. She was also expected to marry a ruler of a foreign nation as a woman, which she used to her advantage by feigning interest in different suitors in order to gain political advantages, only to turn them away once it was politically valuable to do so.
Mary I had been Catholic, while Henry VIII and Edward VI had supported the Anglican Church, separate from the papacy. Elizabeth was a moderate Protestant, and she enforced a version of the Anglican Church to unify the nation. She ended the persecution of Protestants in England, as well as revived the Act of Supremacy and the Act of Uniformity. Some Catholics opposed having a non-Catholic ruler, so multiple assassination plots were created, the most notable of which is the Babington Plot. Mary I of Scotland, who was related to Elizabeth and would have right to the throne of England if she was killed, was proven to be involved in the plot, so Elizabeth I ordered her to be executed, ending the possibility of Catholic rule in England.
England was Protestant, while Spain was strongly Catholic. This difference became a larger issue once Mary I of Scotland was executed. Their alliance was also weakened by English sailors who preyed on Spanish ships who were trading goods between Europe and the Americas. The tension between the two nations was broken when, after England's continued harassment of Spanish commerce and support of Dutch rebels, made the King of Spain attack England in 1588. Spain's armada was famous for its strength, but nevertheless, England was able to successfully defeat it and secure England's control over the seas, which allowed it to later expand into an empire with colonies across the world.
Under her rule, the English Reformation reached its peak, and William Shakespeare, the most famous English playwright and author, wrote his works. The period of stability is responsible for some of the most famous sonnets of the English language, many of which were written by Shakespeare. The growth of culture during this time period also allowed theater to become arguably the most well-known aspect of Elizabethan society. Elizabeth I enjoyed theater, and under her rule the first permanent theater was built in London in 1576. Under her rule, the Globe Theatre, where Shakespeare's plays were performed, was built in 1599. However, the growth of theater was slowed by Puritans, who considered theater immoral, as well as by Elizabeth's banning unlicensed performances in 1559. Performances in theaters were also prevented when a new wave of the Black Plague came to England in 1592, which closed all theaters for a full year. Theaters were also prone to burning down, since they were always made of wood. The Elizabethan era did to England what the Renaissance had done for Italy. Both were periods of stability that allowed the development of culture and ideas that affect how we think of these nations today. The works of writers such as Shakespeare have defined England in the same way Italy is connected to the sculptures of Michelangelo. Elizabeth I's wise and stable rule brought about a golden age of England that turned it into one of the world's most powerful empires, and eventually the nation it is today.